to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Beichman?
Present.
Basinger?
Present.
Boss?
Present.
Ekis?
Present.
Fry?
Present.
Gross?
Present.
Schroller?
Present.
Throng?
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you all for being here. The first item up is the approval of the minutes from July 11th. There is only one amendment. It is on page 3, which is page 1 of the minutes, and it is under the Planning Commission meeting, and it's changing it from Marysville Elementary Site Plan to Marysville High School Site Plan.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the July 11, 2016 meeting with the proposed amendment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Thank you very much. The next item is public comments. Anyone that, we'll go ahead. Is Paul here? Paul Kessinger here? All right, we will move on, and if he comes during, since he's on the agenda. The item is public comments. For all of you who are not on the agenda, you may speak for 5 minutes. Please give your name, your address, and your ward, please.
Good evening. I'm Jada Ackerman, 1200 Park Place here in Marysville, Ward 2. I apologize for not being on the agenda with state baseball. I kind of lost track of the days and called Debbie on Thursday after the agenda had already went out. So I apologize for that. For those of you who don't know me, I am married to Police Chief Todd Ackerman, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Marysville Police Wives. We've been having a lot of conversations with all of the things that are going on in our country right now, really about how we can do our part to help support local law enforcement and to see what we can do to kind of bridge the gap between the community and our first responders. And so what we've been doing is we've been discussing all the reasons that these men and women do the jobs that they do. It's not for them to get rich. It's not for the obvious popularity. It's because they're passionate about what they do and they want to make the community a safer place for all of us. So having said that, there are a lot of people in our community who are very supportive of the first responders, and they've really been doing a great job of trying to show that support by bringing treats to their offices, different baked goods. Some of them, though, have come to the Police Wives and asked, what can we do? We want to do something to show them that we support them, but we're not sure how we can do that. Well, that got all of us talking, and if you don't know all the Police Wives, a lot of us are doers. So when we have a challenge that's put in front of us, what can we do? We're going to make something happen. And so along with that, we're also a little bit protective of those guys too. So in the spirit of doing, we decided we'd like to create an event that we can help bridge the gap, to allow the people who want to come say thank you to our first responders the opportunity to do that, as well as for those that don't know who these people are, to come and have an opportunity to meet with them or ask them questions and just have some time to interact. So our proposal is to host 2 events in one evening, basically just to allow the community a couple different avenues to come in and meet all of our first responders, not just the police department, but all of the first responders. The first event, I did visit with Brad Ekis a little bit about this, having an event earlier in the evening at the Art Center, where the Police Wives have already volunteered that we would supply cookies and other refreshments for the public to come in and have an opportunity to visit with the officers and other first responders. The second event, which is what I'm here to visit with you guys about tonight, we would like to host a pool party with the intent of having some interaction with the first responders, with the public, so we could have some games at the swimming pool. Not charge admission to the public. We'd like all of them to come after hours. We did visit with Maria Schmitz at the swimming pool, and we got some dates that she has available. But what we would like is the support of the City of Marysville to waive the rental fee so that we can offer that night of swimming to the public to interact with the first responders. We'd like to get with the other first responders about having vehicles down there so that people can see the equipment that we've got and really interact with all of them on that level. I do have some flyers that we tentatively put together pending your approval if you'd like to see them.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have a specific date now?
We do.
Okay, what's the date?
It would be Sunday, August 7th.
8/7. And what time are you thinking?
It's on the flyer, but we were thinking 6 to 7:30 would be at the Art Center, and 8:15 to 10 o'clock would be at the Aquatic Center. And so our thoughts were if we did this all in one evening, it would give people the opportunity to either come to one or both. And then the wives have already agreed that we would take care of all of the refreshments that we would provide to the public for that.
I think it's a great idea, especially the world we're living in right now, and just to show, for the opportunity to give the community an opportunity to give them, show them their support. I think it's an excellent idea.
Are you including the police husband and?
My husband, am I including him?
The police officer's husband.
Well, he is a first responder too, so that's why we would invite him to come. Because I did think about that, but where he's a first responder too, it would be hard to have him help plan it.
So you are including the police and the sheriff department?
And
the fire
EMTs
department?
and fire department.
Okay. All right.
Jada, have you talked to Maria about providing lifeguards for this, since 8:15 to 10 would be overtime? Have you talked to her about providing lifeguards for the pool that night?
Well, this is all pending approval with you, but yes, this was a date that she had available for us to do this.
Just the way she schedules it, there's no overtime on employees. They just work so many hours because they're all seasonal. So it wouldn't be an overtime like time and a half or anything like that. And the pool fee that we usually charge usually covers the lifeguard hours. So basically they're just asking us to see if we would waive the pool fee. In other words, volunteer the lifeguard hours, which
Are the lifeguards volunteering their hours?
well, I don't think we've, I doubt.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just think it's a nice gesture for our first responders.
I move that we waive the pool fee, party fee, for the police wives on August 7th.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Discussion?
All right.
Somehow we need to make this clear, either over the radio or in the newspaper or something, that this is a party open to everyone. So any citizen who wants to come to the pool is welcome to come.
For those of you that don't know, my profession from 8 to 5 is public relations, and so I fully intend to public relations this up. Promise.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys
event.
all so much, and we will make sure that you get the recognition for doing this for us as well.
No, well, thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Jada.
Is Paul here yet? All right. Chief, did you want to introduce your new officer?
Good evening. I just want to bring Tyler Williams up tonight so you guys can recognize him. He started today, was his first day. So,
Hi,
he
Tyler
Welcome.
Williams.
Yeah, he'll be leaving for the academy here toward the end of August, and then we won't see him again until December, so it'll be a while.
Yes, again.
Nice to meet you again. Hi, it's Earl. Good to see you again. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again.
Now I can send him home.
Birthday.
Huh?
Isn't it his birthday?
Is it your
It is his
birthday?
birthday. I forgot.
Wow, well, happy birthday. If I could sing, I'd sing. Someone else can
You
take
don't
that
want me
if they
singing.
want. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will proceed on with business and discussion items. The first person up is Wayne Cruzy.
Good evening, I'm Wayne Cruzy. I chair the Marysville Convention and Tourism Committee. Many of the members are with me this evening, and Michelle Weitzel and Allie Argo will join me for part of the presentation. We are on the cusp of greatness. For the past years, our committee has grown and has tried new things. We want to keep that momentum going to bring more and more visitors to Black Squirrel City. Last week, some of us attended the Tourism Roadshow here at City Hall, and we found out that the travel industry is one of the biggest industries in Kansas, and the economic impact is great, which I think we all know. So our committee is in full agreement that we would like to move forward, and we hope we have your blessing to hire a part-time director of convention and tourism. This is a topic we've been discussing for months as we've talked about what's the next step for us. You know our history of 502 Media, that contract is up, and so as we were preparing for their exit, we were talking about what's going to be next, who's going to be our leader, because to a certain extent, they not only provided those Marysville minutes for us, they also helped guide us in different directions and provided professional development for us. In your packet, you have some revisions. The job description is included, a couple of notes. You know, it's really our job as Convention and Tourism to look at bringing people to Marysville. So when we're thinking about where are we headed, we're not so focused on making sure that people in Marshall County are aware of what's going on. Of course, that's important. But really, our goal is to reach the people outside of Marshall County to come to Marysville. I mentioned earlier that we had the Tourism Roadshow here last week. That's an example of other kinds of events that we can be bringing to our area. And this is the kind of thing that we would like this director to do, to focus on getting our city out there so that people know whether it's a half-day conference like the Tourism Roadshow, that probably brought 30 people into our town, eating in our restaurants, getting some fuel, doing some shopping, some hopefully going to the museums. So whether it's something like that or something grander where it's a weekend conference, we need someone who's out there cheerleading Marysville to say, hey, here's what we have to offer. Here's how many hotel rooms we have. Here's how many restaurants. Here's what we're going to do to make your convention a success. We also need someone who's leading our tourism campaign. I think most committee members would agree. Every month we're barraged, really, with requests. Put an ad here, buy an ad here, buy an ad here. And we need someone who's helping us integrate our efforts so that we know that we're spending our money wisely and not looking at things on a month-to-month basis, but really looking at an entire year or more to say, what's our advertising message and how are we going to get that message out there? When we talk about evaluation, I'll talk about some ways that we can evaluate the success of that, because we'll want our director to be on an ongoing basis analyzing this data. How do we know if what we're doing is working? And that'll be a key component for this position. As I mentioned earlier, when 502 came on board, that ongoing training and professional development was key to this committee's success. Some of us do work in marketing, public relations, but we don't have maybe the same picture as someone who works in a much bigger level. And so we need someone who's training our committee to help us make good decisions. And right now, we don't have that, so we certainly need that. Michelle and Allie are going to give you some examples of, so maybe concrete examples, so we don't have to talk in big picture, but can also talk about, here are some things we think this person could specifically do or could have done.
Hi, I'm Michelle Weitzel again. I'm on the Convention and Tourism meeting or committee with Wayne and Barb and Allie and Kenny. In preparing for this, we kind of looked at the last calendar year and just thought of some specific examples of if we had an employee that was devoted specifically to our efforts, things that we might have been able to accomplish. Actually, last week at our meeting, I know the mayor was there. We talked with Brian Froggle about sports and rec and how it would be really great for him to have someone to help in his efforts. He was talking about the number of tournaments that he brings to town and all of the people that come to town, even if it's just for the day, and communicating to them the things that they could do while they were here, the places that they could go eat, and just nothing against Hardee's or Sonic, but if they wanted to sit down and have a nice dinner and spend a little bit of time here in between games, someone that could maybe develop some, information to have up there at the ballpark for those folks, or communicating with them. Brian has all of their emails, communicating with them in advance and letting them know we have things for them to do here, and we hope that they spend their time here. We also talked about at some of these events, the Big Blue Barbecue or OOT, having a convention and tourism person there present, whether it's having the visitor center open or having some sort of booth downtown. If you think about the sheer number of people that are in Marysville, the weekends of all of these big events, just having a place where they could go and get additional information and be invited back and say, you might just be here for OOT for this concert and spend the night and go home, but we'd really like you to come back. It's a great place to come visit. So I'll let Allie give a couple other examples.
I guess kind of moving forward, a lot of it is a marketing aspect. I know I have a very similar job currently that focuses just with town. There's not enough hours in the day that you can be posting and reaching out to other people and reaching out to other communities. I feel like one step we've missed with convention and tourism is being a better communicator with MCDC, being a better communicator with Main Street, being a better communicator with MSR, being a better communicator with Chamber, and really us leading the way to communicate and bring that in, instead of saying, oh, well, if you would have told me, I could have put that on. Because a lot of people don't know the assets that we have through Kansas tourism and things we could have on our website and stuff like that to bring. I'm going to I've been dwelling on a comment one of our council members made at a finance meeting about us being a small town. And I got to thinking about this a lot. I'm from a big town. I'm from a town of 35,000, and I went to a town of 135,000, and then we came here. This is the most life I've ever lived in this tiny little town. There's the most things to do. There's the most things to get involved. There's the most sense of community, and I watch that as we bring big city folks in like Kansas City. I probably should have shared this better, but one of our Kansas City barbecuers, they went to Identities to get all their t-shirts made this year. They didn't have to do that. And so I think we are a huge asset no matter how small or how big we are. And I think it's just really our goal to get somebody to focus on that and I guess to help bring that together.
And I think, when we talked about the job description, a lot of that is just that external communication that he mentioned, more, social media efforts and an overall strategy for us to move forward. We've just gained so much momentum over the last 2 years with 502, and we really just want to keep that growth going and have Marysville on the map. So, does anybody have any questions?
Let's keep talking a little bit about just to make sure we're on the same page before we take your questions. Under job parameters, you'll notice a couple things that we changed. We put a minimum salary to a maximum salary in there. Remember, when you take a look at the preferred requirements, we're looking for someone with a college degree. We're looking for someone with very specific skills, not only in the marketing world, but also with specific software skills, so this person can also be a designer and put forth flashy brochures or websites, whatever it might be, to make sure that we are out there looking as flashy, as attractive as we can. We also talked about, I know last time we had said that maybe this person would be based out of home, and we gathered that was not to your liking, so we said that this person would, his or her office would be based out of the Marshall County Visitors Center. We also built in some levels of accountability so that monthly reports are submitted to you, to the city administrator, and to our Travel and Tourism Committee. Those monthly reports would include documentation of time. We know we're saying this person is basically working 25 hours per week. Sometimes it's going to be more, and therefore sometimes it might be less. So that time would be documented, as well as documentation of how he or she is progressing toward accomplishing these goals, as well as collecting data relating to the marketing efforts and how this person is helping the Convention and Tourism Committee reach our goals. And then there would be quarterly performance reviews between, we suggest, the mayor, city administrator, and the chairperson of Convention and Tourism, so that on an ongoing basis, there is that dialogue going, so if something comes up, we can nip that in the bud. You also see a proposed sheet. One of the questions that Brad had asked us a couple of times is regarding the Marshall County Visitor Center. And so, what would Brenda be doing in the Visitor Center? So where it says Chamber of Commerce duties needed, those are the bullets that we have proposed to the Chamber of Commerce. We merely gave those to them last week. So that's what we're asking them to do, and we will wait for them wait to hear back from them. And you've also said, well, how are you going to evaluate this? And so we put something together. We have not discussed this as an entire committee. We just put some ideas together because this position can be evaluated. We can in a year say, here's the stuff that we have, and we're going to use this data to make an informed decision about whether or not this Director of Convention and Tourism is effective or not. So things we would use would be examples from the tourism marketing campaign. As we're going into this, we would work with this director to say, we need some measurable data. For example, with Orchestra on the Oregon Trail right now, we're working with 502 to send out social media stuff, to send out emails, and we've said, now tell us, how many people have bought tickets from this ad? Is there a call to action in that ad so that we know, yes, this was effective, or no, it was not effective? Today, I was working with a client who said, we're going to put an ad in your paper for 4 weeks. This is the telephone number you're going to put in there. And it was a new telephone number. They said, this is the way we're going to know if the ad in the Marysville Advocate is effective or not. Or sometimes you'll throw in a catchy slogan or a funny name or something to see, as people are coming in, are they saying black squirrel, black squirrel, black squirrel, or whatever it might be. But those measurements would be put into the campaign from the get-go, so we would know in a year how effective this was. We would also have the monthly reports. We'd have the anecdotal conversations with the hotel managers, the restaurant managers, because we want this person to be out and about in the community having discussions with the people who are with our tourists every day. That's the reason I keep my part-time job at the Heritage Inn Express, because I can talk to tourists every other weekend and hear how they're finding out about Marysville. It's a great way to be in the know. And although they might be anecdotal, those conversations are still really important. We'd obviously have documentation about progress toward bringing bus tours here. What have you done specifically to move us in that direction? And we can certainly look at the hotel occupancy numbers as well. So there would be enough data points for us to look at to say, did we spend our money wisely?
And I think there's also, as we were talking, as everybody notices, the list for the chamber did go down, quite a bit from what they're doing. And they're having comments made, can this person handle all this? We're not going to throw them to the wolves. I mean, this committee has been using this as a part-time job for the past 4 years. I can't say that, I've only been here for 6 months, but it's sometimes a part-time job. We fully intend as a committee to continue our steps with this person's job to make sure this all gets done.
So just so everyone knows, the Chamber of Commerce duties that are listed on page 13, they still plan to fund it for the $9,000, which is what we funded in the past, and for those duties. And are you asking if we didn't include the utilities? That's right. And just so you guys know, when I went to the Kester House Museum Foundation meeting, all of them on the board were supportive of hiring someone for this position. They all voiced support for it. I did not stay for the Museum Alliance. Did you discuss it at the Museum Alliance Committee meeting?
Yeah, they're all kind of in the same spot. There's a lot of, the Museum Alliance Committee, there's probably an average age of about 70 on there, and they will all say, they don't know a lot of these things. I know Historical Society right now needs a new person to help with their website because their high school student has graduated and they just kind of don't have it all. And so I basically kind of put it out there to them that we have that we can help more in facilitate these things and focus more on heritage tourism or athletic tourism. And we've even been talking about having maybe additional committee members come on, kind of like Main Street has 4 committees, have tourism, have some more focus on athletic tourism, focus on heritage tourism, which is the Museum Alliance basically, focus more on the arts or work with them to see Marshall County Arts Cooperative better and so that we're communicating with them. Because I think we really, if you put people in their ball, we can really move forward in a lot of these things and help each other out a lot.
And I think that'll help too with the duplication of efforts that seem to be a concern too if we're all, working together.
Well, going over this, I think when I sat in the meeting for finance and admin, they addressed all our concerns in this. So, do you see anything that's not addressed based on our meeting?
No.
Okay, so questions for Wayne, Ally, or Michelle? Are you asking for us to approve this position for you to start looking now? And you feel that the 2016 budget has enough leeway that you can, if you find someone, you can go ahead and hire them in 2016 and still
I think
be
the
okay?
goal is to hire in 2017, but we'd like to start the efforts and start the looking process now. I know Main Street's doing the same thing for my position right now. They're ready to put out a job description for January,
So right now, what you want is approval to go ahead and proceed looking for a person to start hopefully 2017, which is somewhat flexible, but around 2017 with, as described here. You guys? How do you feel?
Does the budget include dollars for the equipment and software and, okay,
It does,
got
yes.
that.
Yeah.
You've got that in there, okay?
Any other discussions? Or would you like to make a motion to have them proceed? Entertain a motion to have them proceed to look for
The
the...
only thing I question is the price, or the amount that they're gonna spend. 17 to 22,000 a year. We got some full-time employees ain't making that a year.
That would be $8 an hour, right? I'm trying to do that in my head. 17,000 divided by
I figured that up.
13 to
Some of the
17.
employees are only making like 21,000 a year, so, full-time employees.
Well, this person will not have any benefits.
Right,
He's
yeah,
already-
but that didn't include the benefits.
I'm just, no, this person will not have any benefits. And where all our employees have retirement and health care, and, I mean, that's a huge plus to our employees.
Can I just,
What is it per hour? I'm sorry, did you calculate?
817 for 17,000.
So that would be 817, and our employees start on the street.
More than that.
Okay,
817 for $17,000 a year.
An hour?
Yeah,
Full-time,
817
that's full-time.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is
And then-
25 hours.
yeah, this is 25 hours.
But this does have a college degree. I mean,
this is not, they're not proposing an employee. They're proposing a contractor. And that is a different, this is not.
because there's no benefits.
And also, we expect
Just
them,
overlapping with the chamber deal and
we expect them to work a minimum of 25 hours a week. That's basically what I was told when I started my job also, that this is a part-time, let me phrase this right. This is a part-time pay with full-time hours. Is kind of what I got told. We want them to do the job. We don't expect to hire anybody that's going to say, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I'm sorry, I have to go home.
Or that doesn't want to work those weekends at the events.
Yeah, it will be a lot of weekend work and nighttime work.
And Denny,
Because social media never stops, as all you all know.
Denny, I don't think, there might be a little bit of overlap, but we believe when we say this is a new position doing new things, most of this stuff is not being done to this degree.
And it would be a contract. We would have to approve the contract.
This is just authoring them to
This is just letting them, yeah, but it.
with the search.
Well, and a little like I think, and I probably should have brought the definitions off, but like the definition of a chamber and a Main Street is to hone in on the community and build the community and grow the businesses and build us within. The definition of convention and tourism is to focus on the outside, not the inside. So me as Main Street might say, you don't like the black squirrel, that's a great local person, but people outside the town love the black squirrel. So we're honing in on completely different, I guess, people. We're not going after taking care of the same person.
Yes, I would say, I saw some concerns with this, but bottom line, we met for quite a while. We've had a lot of conversations. basically, the point that's been made by Convention of Tourism is that we appoint them, and we appoint them to make recommendations, and at some point, they've met, we had some requirements about the accountability, some certain things, but in the end, I think the point was made that that is their role, that's what we appoint them for, so at some point, we have to give them a little bit of latitude, and they may not necessarily.
And this is really, they're testing this position.
Yeah.
I mean, if it fails, for some reason, I mean, it's not like with contract labor, you can stop it and say, this isn't working for us, or, I mean, there's still a lot of flexibility.
So I've got to ask, what is on this proposal, what is the Chamber's position on it? Did they, I mean, have they had this, I mean, have they had this in advance of us, or, I mean, I didn't know what the process, well, I mean, how you got all this refined. I'm not super familiar with every step of that process.
Well, we wanted to be really aware of our open meeting laws. So our next meeting was last Wednesday. So that's when we talked. That's when we finalized this and finalized our proposal to the chamber. So now that the ball's.
You just haven't heard back.
And I think the original one. I mean, the original job description was 3 or 4 months ago. It is slightly tough when you meet once a month. And
I know you've got overlapping, again, organizations and different meeting schedules.
Just since you brought it up, I was going to bring this up after but I'm going to recommend that we relook at they've expressed what they want the chamber to do, which is their current contract. I think we need to renegotiate a contract and have the chamber agree to it, because right now, this is not, the requirements are not what the contract.
Right, because we have a contract with the chamber.
We currently have a contract, and as I understand it, it's not going to change for 2016. The contract says you can terminate the contract within the 60 days notification, and it specifically outlines the duties that they perform, which will be changed based on this director's position. Yeah. So we would have to prepare another contract and assume the chamber is willing to do those duties.
Because these changes want to take effect immediately, so I think in all fairness to the chamber, we need to do that sooner than later, because
to the contract. Well, I guess since it's their intent is not to really have them on board of 2017, and the contract that we've already agreed to is through 2016.
But I don't.
We can go ahead and revise it.
I don't anticipate you guys want them to continue in the current role as of now.
Well, as of now, they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Until the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then what you see on the handout is what we'd like to continue. What we'd like them to continue.
Then all I can say is you guys need a better working relationship, because from everything I've been told, that you're wanting them to continue, but I don't think we're not setting up a good working relationship. So if that's is that the anticipation?
Brenda and Tammy go to all our meetings.
Huh?
Brenda and Tammy go to all of our meetings.
That doesn't mean they have a voice in them.
They are able to talk at our meetings.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what you guys want to encourage them or vote to go ahead and have them proceed and search for a director?
If we say go ahead and search for the director, we still, I mean, that's not signed, sealed, and delivered. They come. Yeah. I mean, at what point in the process are we approving the funding right now, or are we just approving the search?
The search and these parameters that they put in here, that they would present a contract to us, because the city will be the one that has to enter the contract,
right?
And that it would be within the parameters listed here.
Move to approve the Convention and Tourism Committee to go ahead in locating a Director of Convention and Tourism. We have a page before us that limits the parameters and the funding, and the amount of salary and the hours to be worked. And this begins, we begin immediately?
Hoping to begin searching now, and hopes to have the position in place at 2017.
Motion for them to begin the search.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion?
Well,
Mayor, I would like to ask our city attorney, what do you think, since we haven't, the position or our contract with the chamber hasn't been addressed yet, and we're talking about doing a search for a new person?
Right. Without having reviewed that contract with the chamber, to be fully honest with you. I don't know if there's some sort of, would this constitute some sort of breach or violation of that contract with the chamber? I don't know. It seems doubtful, creating some sort of position. So I guess that's what I would look into, but I haven't looked at that contract.
Yeah, do
so
you
I
have a
don't
copy
know.
of the contract with you, Wayne?
Okay.
Oh, so now, take the 2 pages up. There's a page missing.
I think I
Oops.
would like to be doing both these at the same time so that we know everything's on the same page and aligned. I think everybody's on the same page. Do you have preference?
Same here. Well, there's a lot of ups and downs.
I know, and when it's
Chamber
staggered.
was at the meetings, and these were the terms that were discussed, and they tentatively did agree to them, but they haven't signed off
They
on
haven't
it.
officially agreed, they tentatively agreed.
Tentatively, based on the conversations we had during the meeting.
We did not agree to those.
Okay.
We were not asked if we wanted to agree to them. We're going to have a meeting next week. We'll let everybody know.
Chambers in the house.
Okay.
Have you talked to the Marshall County Development and Tourism bunch?
I've had a conversation, I guess, with them. I think there's a big ingredient, so I think there's a lot of miscommunication. And so I've put it on myself or whoever to be better at communicating and maybe attending some of their meetings. I've talked to a few people from MCDC and feel like we assumed there was communication there because there were multiple people and like similar people involved, but I don't think it was as good as it should have been. And so we know we need to work on that.
So in this agreement that I'm reading right now, it refers to Convention and Tourism Bureau. It's you folks.
No,
That's not
the
the
bureau is the chamber acting as the bureau. The chamber is the Marshall County Visitor Center and acts as Marysville Visitor Bureau.
What relationship, I guess this is my question, is what relationship does this body have with the chamber?
This committee is our committee.
Right.
And the chamber, we just pay for their services. They provide the building, and Brenda is the staff person there.
So as I read this, it says, this committee, which the city shall appoint, shall assist that bureau in a number of things, encouraging, promoting, soliciting.
Yeah, it's changed. The dynamics of this committee has changed because committee is much more active, I'm sure, than when that was initially drafted. That was an annual contract to be renewed annually. I think it has a termination clause in it. You see that? 60 days.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so either party can terminate.
Right.
And I think their intent is to continue on through 2015 as is.
Okay.
2016.
I'm sorry, 2016. Ooh,
I assumed.
a whole year behind. 2016. Do you want us to postpone this vote till you can say that you say it's okay and not in conflict with this agreement, or what would you like us to do? Since you haven't seen this before.
Oh, right. Well, I hate to delay. I mean, something that doesn't necessarily need delayed, but I guess my concern is with specific language that I'm just reading now, that a bureau is there to manage and it's managed and operated by chamber and entity, and that bureau is assisted by this committee, which is asking for a $22,000 position. So what authority does the bureau have over that decision? What authority does the chamber have over the bureau's authority?
The bureau is an outside party, so it has no authority over the city hiring someone.
As I read this, according to the language, the bureau is managed and operated by the chamber. And,
yes.
And this entity assists that bureau.
Yeah,
so
but
through transitive property there, that's my concern. Is
well, I think the real problem is that this committee is spending tax dollars, and they come with recommendations to us, and we actually pay it. So the way that contract written isn't exactly how it works, mainly because the transient guest tax dollars stay with us. We pay a certain amount to the chamber out of the transient guest tax dollars, but all the transient guest dollars requests come from the committee to the council to approve.
Right.
They're supposed to make recommendations.
And they make recommendations. So the Marysville Visitor Bureau isn't making recommendations to the city council. The Marysville Convention and Tourism Committee is.
Okay. As the city's attorney, I would feel better about maybe tabling it. And I hate to delay this. I know it's been tabled maybe a couple of times already. Just to make sure that the city understands exactly where these entities are beholden to, who has authority over it. And I hear everything you're saying, Mayor, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it, but I want to make sure it's not contrary to what agreements state, what ordinances state, because ordinances have created some of these entities as well.
So are you thinking we might have to terminate that contract before we start this process?
Well, I suppose that could be one option if that's what the city wanted to do. At risk that there's some objection from the chamber or some other entity that says, look, we have an agreement, you're violating, you're breaching the agreement, the city council is. And so I certainly don't want to advise the council to make a decision today that could be that. And I just don't know the answer. Hopefully, 2 weeks or a month of delay isn't going to totally hinder the advertising process for the position. I know it doesn't help it, but if it doesn't kill it, then I think it's worth at least taking a look at.
Do you want to rescind your motion at this point? And we'll bring it to the council in a month.
I rescind the motion.
And Bill, you rescind your second?
I'll rescind the second.
Okay, so at this time, we'll just readdress it at the next meeting that you're at?
Sure.
That will be in a month. Is that all right? All right. Now, there is something else you want approved, right? You want this request for funds approved? Is that correct? That's on page 10. And there's two things I thought you wanted approved. One was these additional monies for the Black Squirrels on Parade.
Absolutely.
And I know I didn't get your email back, but this previously approved amount, was it 400 or 1,400?
1,400.
That's what I thought it said. So that should read on page 10, previous amount 1,400. And they're asking $459. I gave you some other numbers. Is this still the number you want, the $459.77? And you wrote me an email to justify it. Okay, so they're requesting additional $459.77 for the Black Squirrels on Parade. I would entertain a motion to approve that.
Move to approve the pay of $459.77 Convention and Tourism to Black Squirrels on Parade.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And the other thing I believe they're requesting at this time is with this museum pass, the transient guest tax, are you wanting us to approve that $500 right now? Or are you going to present us something like this?
We will present that, yeah.
Oh, okay, so you bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, to make it clear for everyone?
Sure.
All right. Does that address everything you wanted? All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, come back.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Pertaining to this, I was at that finance meeting, and I didn't recall hearing from the Chamber of Commerce that they were not in favor. I thought this was kind of a joint effort, and I didn't get that feeling that, I don't recall hearing somebody speak up to say, we're not for this at all. And so that's why it got this far. I didn't know that there was any dissension among the troops to the point that they did not want this position to come on board. So if there's going to be a meeting somewhere, I think that Chamber of Commerce should voice openly how they feel about this.
Okay, well, they haven't had their meeting yet, so we will go ahead and if they want to present something at the next meeting, they're welcome to, and otherwise we will address this in the second meeting in August.
Okay.
All right?
Well, I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Is that all right, Tammy? Okay. All right. Now we'll move along to the notice of budget hearing is in front of you. This we need to have published in the upcoming council, or newspaper. I'm going to, just so you know where all these numbers come from, I met with our city administrator, and from the time we had our budget meeting the last time, there's just been a couple changes to get to these numbers, so I thought I'd let him go ahead and tell you what they are. Because they're different actually than the pages that were in the packet, all right? And that's why he gave you these copies at your desk, all right?
There's a few revisions, but really the budget is in principle the same. I did find more than likely a mistake that I had made in transposing some numbers. So I had to correct that, and it was about $20,000, but nothing really was affected because we had a little excess to move around. So I corrected that. I installed a transfer amount for equipment reserve from admin for the vehicle that I have that we're looking to buy for myself. And then I increased the tort liability to help even out the numbers.
So those were the three major changes. But as you can see, we kept the levy flat, and the amount of ad valorem taxes did not change. So I would entertain a motion to approve the notice of budget hearing to be published.
Move to approve the publishing of the notice. Is that what I'm? Yep.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And then you can take these home, and we will approve the budget next week, correct? Next meeting?
Yeah, next meeting is we need to get this in the paper, so it'll be in this Thursday, and then that'll give us the amount of time for publication for the hearing. And you'll see I also included this sitting on in front of you. This is a sample notice of vote for publication. This is what we will have to get published after we vote. It shows the amount of ad valorem tax that we collected or were scheduled to collect in 2016 compared to the amount proposed to collect in 2017. That exceeded the CPI, so that's what triggered this notice. But it also shows that our mill levy has stayed the same. So we will publish that after we vote.
All right. All right. On pages 29 to 38 is the clink agreement for Highway 36. And Craig, the only question I had is, it was talking on page 34, it states termination, should sufficient funds not be there? And with everything that's going on in our state government, I was talking to Austin about that this morning and said we keep saying we're going to wait and combine this with a 2018 project.
Right.
That phrase makes me a little more nervous, and maybe we should go ahead and start looking for funding and assume to get it done in fiscal year, or their fiscal year 2017. At the very bottom of termination.
Yeah.
It just says that if the monies are available at the end of the fiscal year. And since their fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30, I just thought, we've kind of been putting this off, but maybe we should proceed and try to act upon it as an individual project after all, and always add to it if we want to, but is that how you read that?
Well, I guess, yeah, the question is, well, sufficient funds, meaning, I don't know, is that defined? And if I'm understanding, they could pull the plug on what they contribute?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how I read it. I don't know if that's been in every contract or not, but...
Hasn't that always been the case, though? Is that new? Didn't seem like
guess-
that's new, because I've heard of all kinds of projects that got,
Yeah, well, the only reason I brought it, because KDOT has,
right.
so, anyway, that was my only concern, but we can go ahead and approve the contract and worry about the urgency later.
I move to approve the TAMP agreement and
Second.
authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Discussion, please.
Yes?
Are you proposing that in the event they pull the plug on this, that we find the funds locally to complete out the project?
No, I'm proposing that we make sure we get the project done before their fiscal year ends.
As opposed to
Is that
waiting and
possible?
holding the money until
Another,
18. yeah.
unless we get assurance from them, written assurance, that they would combine the project and extend it out. But that would be based on another contract from them.
Right.
Which they are not going to propose, or they're not going to provide if they don't have the funds to complete out this one.
We're assured of this one through the end of the fiscal year 6/30/2017.
Unless the funds aren't available.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that I thought we should go ahead and plan to do it before 6/30/2017.
Do they approve that timeline?
Well, that's what it says.
That's
It
what the
becomes-
timeline is on the present one.
Yeah, that's the end of their fiscal year. So I'm just saying, I just brought it up because I wanted to make sure that we kind of kept an eye on that and made sure the project got done in case
Okay.
the Clink 2018 doesn't open up or anything, so.
Okay. Thank you for clarification.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Thank you very much. All right, I am not aware of any notices or hearings. There's nothing on the consent agenda, so I would entertain a motion regarding the appropriations ordinance.
Move to approve appropriations ordinance number 3631.
Second.
Any discussion? Wow, roll call?
Beichman?
Yes.
Basinger?
Yes.
Boss?
Yes.
Ekis?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Traum?
Yes.
8-0.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Austin, you're up.
All right. As of last meeting, I was asked to do a general fund revenue outlook based on some concerns over what it was looking like. Let's see. What the general fund was coming out to be over some what looked to be low revenue income and some high expenditures. But what I've found is over the course of the last 3-4 years, revenues have been relatively stable, so have expenditures. There's some anomalies in there, but that's expected. Sometimes the expenditures go up like they naturally do, but over time it's been relatively constant. I did notice there was some decrease in the carryover each year, $10,000 to $30,000 a year, kind of constantly. I guess I've tasked myself with sort of looking for ways to negate that, I guess. Finding $1,000 here, $1,000 there, trying to cut some costs. So we don't see that on a regular basis anymore. And I'm hoping that with some increased valuation that we just start putting that away so we're not having a deficit of a budget. So that's something I want to look forward into future years. As far as the higher expenditures in June, there were a few different things that affected that. A final paycheck to the last city administrator, some maintenance on the police department, and maintenance on some equipment, street department equipment that I saw sticking out. Now, that doesn't say those were the only things, but those were some of the bigger ticket items that I could pick out right off the top. And but other than that, like I said, expenditures have been somewhat on the same level.
So the key thing was on the revenue side, the fire contracts were paid in June. They've been billed in July. And we had a transfer that was supposed to be made semi-annually in 2015, but they actually made the end of June in 2015 rather than July. So that's why June looked low. And July, the other thing that we noticed was the payroll. Whenever we have 3 weeks between meetings, there's 2 payrolls that we pay rather than 1. And that usually it happened in July, and this time it happened in June. So that was kind of a big part of about almost half of the increase in expenses was because what we should see in July then is our expenses will go down in comparison because there'll just be 2 payrolls in July. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All
right. Item number 2 is the discussion of a vehicle for myself. I went out and got a few bids. I stuck to Ford and Chevy because we had a Ford and a Chevy dealer in town, and I figure if we go with anything else, that we don't have a dealership that could handle the vehicle right here, at least under warranty. So I did include sort of an my overview got taken out.
I have a question. Why do we need a 4-wheel drive vehicle?
That's what I was going to ask too.
We have a few hills to get around on, and if I'm going to go out in the snow, and if you decide I don't need a 4-wheel drive, I'm not going to be heartbroken. But
he's kind of like a first responder, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, you could call the police and they could take him around if you needed it that way.
4-wheel drives do get worse fuel economy, and they cost more to insure, and they cost more to maintain. So I mean, there's trade-offs,
and they're higher priced too.
Yeah.
And I see there's no deal about trading the old vehicle in.
When my first discussion with Greg Boss, he said, am I trading something in? And I go, maybe that Chevy Avalanche out there. And his comment was he didn't want anything to do with it, pretty much. Those weren't his exact words, but that's what the gist was.
And then another thing, why are we getting that big a vehicle? I mean, just because it's 4-wheel drive and all-wheel drive? There's a lot smaller vehicles in a Traverse and smaller vehicles in an Explorer too.
Well, there's a Ford Fusion down there at the bottom.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And a Ford Taurus. If you want me to look for, I mean, the least expensive one was that Ford Taurus, but I didn't get a comparable quote from anybody else.
But what about, so I had this thing, but what about like an Escape? Escape or I guess the Chevy equivalent would be the Equinox or whatever, but I don't know if we want a vehicle or do you want to, I could see where there might be advantages of having the crossover, but I wondered if you need an Explorer size of, I forget why the chief needs an Explorer, but I'm not, or Expedition. Would you have you have an Expedition, yeah.
Yeah,
the new one's the Explorer.
Is a smaller one.
That's right, you got, that's right.
Since Greg is here, how much is dollar-wise an Escape cheaper than an Explorer?
Considerable. Again, front-wheel drive compared to all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It's just, you gotta decide what you want. Whether you want all-wheel drive or, there's several $1,000s.
Well, I looked at the Ford site and just looked at the base price. I think on the Escape was 23, and I think Explorer was 32. That's not, that was nothing. But
I think we ought to get a quote for an Escape.
Okay.
And whatever the
all-wheel drive Chevy is.
What?
All-wheel drive or four-wheel drive?
I think the
4-wheel drive?
all-wheel drive, yeah.
I think that's a lot better. There's no more maintenance than there is on two-wheel drive.
Well, that's not my experience.
Well, you need to drive newer vehicles.
So you want...
Touche.
So you want Austin to go get an estimate for an Escape and both 4-wheel drive and...
The next down Chevrolet too.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt to get quotes for both, I mean, for 4 and 2.
Okay.
And for Chevy and Ford.
Something else, I guess.
Before we had our Traverse, we just had a two-wheel and we got around town all right with it. And if it's that bad, the police can pick him up, and I think it's
All due respect, you don't go out in emergency situations either that I'm aware of. And if we're tied up in an emergency situation in a storm or something, we're not gonna go time to pick him up. I'm not gonna break somebody away from doing something emergency to pick Austin up.
Well, the street department's got a lot of four-wheel drives, and everybody else has got four-wheel drives that you
Well,
get
I know,
traded
but
in.
you keep saying the police department.
Well, I know
No,
you
police
got it,
department
but-
probably won't, unless we have
The
something clear.
street department's got just as many they got all your hand-me-downs, so they got four-wheel
Yeah,
drives.
that's a fact. They do.
Well, why don't we have them come back with both, and we'll look at the cost then. Is that okay? Everybody all right with that? So we're going to defer that, Austin. Okay. You keep driving the Avalanche. All right.
Pretty big motor on there.
The only other thing I was going to mention to you earlier, if you would include that major project list next time, an updated one, so we know where we're at.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything for Austin?
I think we ought to try to keep the sales in town for a vehicle anyway.
Yes, I do too.
Great.
Is that a consensus of council for him to limit his search in town?
Yes.
I realize there's a lot of different, but I think keeping in town is...
Okay, we will guide him that way.
They help pay your salary.
Yes, they do.
They pay taxes, they live here, they have businesses here, they pay taxes on that.
Do you have any response, Austin, or are you just going to follow your...
Well, I mean, I'm glad to follow that, but there is, my feeling is it is hypocritical that our funds are picked over and we get told that we can't spend money on this and this, but then and when I present something that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 apart, it's go with the more expensive one. I'm okay to follow that, but that's just my response.
Well, I would just think that if we buy the vehicle here in town, they'll do the warranty work on a more timely basis, and if we buy a vehicle out of town and we take it in and they say, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, I just don't want to have that happen. Not that they would, but... I'm duty bound to bring the lowest prices, so I'm always going to bring the lowest prices.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but I think the consensus of council is to stay local, so bring us the two estimates, two types of vehicles each, all right? All right, anything else for Austin? City Clerk, do you have anything? All right, standing committee reports. Street, I know we have a street report. First off, I want to say thank you for Dave Richardson. He gave you all a Unified Land Development Code book, and you can brief over that for the next meeting. But in there, I specifically looked at pages regarding to some of the issues we've been dealing with are on pages 39, 40, and 33.
39.
40, and 33. Look at read those pages specifically. We don't have to address them tonight. Just want you to read through. Has to do with streets and building permits and of the such.
I think we also ought to read 32, 33, and 34.
32, 33, and 34. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
What was it?
So with that note, I think it's a really good idea for us to have these books so we know what our responsibilities are. And also, when I read through this book over the weekend, I realized how important our planning commission is. Our planning commission is a very important committee, and I'm really thankful that Darlene is attending the meetings and reporting back what they're working on, because we need to know what they're approving. They have a lot of power, and we just need to be aware of what they're deciding so that we make sure we do it according to code as well. All that being said, would the street department like to report on the meeting you had?
Okay, we met last Friday evening up on the corner of, well, not corners, 12th Street and right at Mr. Mayor's property and
the end of 12th Street.
Yeah, end of 12th Street there. And we walked around, looked at the site, and there probably a good hour. We looked at drainage coming across. You know, Mr. Mayor has a geothermal line in the ground. We looked around that, trying to come up with ways and what would work the best way. And, you know, probably the best way that we've come up to, and we've sent it off, or Austin was supposed to send it off to Tony to see what it would come in at, is to drain it from the center to a corner, put a catch basin in, bring it across, put another catch basin in, and tube it underground to get it out of sight and away from where the property is. And all we basically worked on was a drainage portion of it for right now, because we do not feel doing anything with the street until the drainage is properly taken care of.
Or we have a concept of what the drainage is going to be and the cost involved, and then we proceed on.
Then we'll bring it back here for approval.
Yeah, and then we can look at the street. But in the meantime, read those pages in your UDLC. Do you have anything else to add? You did speak with Tony.
I sent it on to Tony. He's going to get it passed within the next week. So that was last Friday when I talked to him.
Cool.
All right.
That'll work.
Anything else on street?
Yeah, we got some low trimming trees around town. We just need to contact you with a list, or you want to send it out to property owners, or what do you want to do with that? I mean, it's not the ones on the ceiling routes. I mean, they're...
Because those should be all
do you want them to go directly to Dave Richardson, or go through you?
Just send a list, addresses.
Because some of them you can't even drive a car under anymore.
I've seen them too.
Yeah.
Some of them's over stoplights or stop signs and everything. It's just...
Yeah, when you hide the stop sign, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah. And, you know, we had some that was over a handicap post, and, you know, they couldn't even get in the car because the trees would, when they shut the car door, the trees were in the car door. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we need to get some of those taken care of.
Yeah, send those to Austin.
Okay.
And are they starting to chip and seal this week?
The weather does not look good, and they are planning on next Thursday.
I thought they were supposed to start last week.
Well, they were supposed to start this week, but it's 50% chance of rain on
last week. Is what was in the minutes. They were supposed to start last week.
The week of the 18th. They were still trimming trees, actually, and they were killing...
they were weed eating the streets.
Yep.
Weeding the streets. So they were going to start this week, but then the forecast on Wednesday and Thursday is 50% rain. So he went till next week, and you know he doesn't like to do it by the oil on Mondays or Fridays, so that pushes it to next week. But it looked like clear skies next week. He says it only takes one day to do a shoot for his entire route, so he still anticipates getting it all done.
Because they got to do 3 shoots.
They have 3 routes, maybe even 4 if they get it all done. So.
Because the last couple of years we haven't got it all done.
Yeah. Well, he seemed pretty confident, didn't he?
So they tested equipment the other day when I was watching them out in the street. So everything should be ready to roll.
Now we want sunny skies.
Yeah.
Right? On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, please.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Water and wastewater?
Did they do anything on the hay in the lagoon? Did you find anything on that?
He's researching.
He's still. We're still doing some research.
You're still searching on that.
Yeah, I spoke with Austin about it recently.
Okay.
And looked into it. You know, there might be an opportunity for the city. I don't know that the city's precluded at this point in time. But
well, the guy was here last week, talking about it. Just kind of didn't know. I hadn't heard anything, so.
Yeah. Well, Austin, you can include it in the weekly highlights if you get an answer from Craig before the next meeting. Craig's here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, I had something on streets.
Okay.
Did the street north of the cemetery, north of the Catholic cemetery, did that get resolved? Remember
the crack seal?
He went back and resealed, and it looks good.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
He got it full this time.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. Water and wastewater? Parks and Rec?
Seen the ground, the stumps out of the city park where they got all the trees down. Yeah, they said they were going to work on that.
Yeah. So, I just have one thing. I was at Rotary today, and they were talking about some discretionary grant monies they have available. Has to be for a kids program. Has to be done by August 31st. So I spoke with him about the possibility of getting shade structures at the Lakeview and adding that it would be shade structures and foul ball control at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then he said, well, is there a possibility of putting Rotary on as an advertisement that would more likely get the funding, and I didn't see any problem with that. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys would be okay. The way this grant would work is if we would get it, it would have to be completed the next month. It would be like a 50-50 cost share. So I just want to make sure that you guys are okay. If we get $15,000, that we could possibly find another $15,000 to proceed with this project. 15 is probably the upper end. If we just get 10, we'll just put up whatever we can get for 10 up. But those shade structures are kind of important out there, right? So how do you guys feel about that? Yes?
I think go for it.
Go ahead and proceed with the grant application and see if we happen to get it, and you guys are okay with it? If we have to match at 50-50 up to, say, $15,000, we're okay? Can I have a motion for that, just so it's on the record, that it should, to go ahead and apply for the grant, knowing that it could cost up to $15,000?
I move to apply for the grant.
With Rotary International.
Rotary, and with the understanding that they will put claiming rights on it for advertisement, and for up to $15,000 match.
For our cost.
For our costs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will get that completed, just to see if we can, if there's money to be had, we should take opportunities. Unless you guys had a better thought, they said it had to be related to kids, so that's the first thing that came to mind.
Perfect.
Okay.
Way to jump on it.
Okay. We will get that done in August. Cemetery and airport. Police and fire. Finance and admin. All right, appointments on page 55 is for a part-time position, Ben Moore with the police department.
Move to approve the part-time position with Ben Moore at $13.17 per hour with the police department.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. City attorney, do you have anything?
I do not.
All right. I believe we do need to go into executive session tonight. It would be for personnel matters related to non-elected personnel to discuss specific employees. It would probably take about 15 minutes when we should include the city administrator and city attorney Craig Olson. I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve to go into executive session, discussion of personnel for 15 minutes.
Of non-elected personnel.
Of non-elected personnel.
To discuss employees.
Thank you. To discuss employees, to begin at 8:12 and to end at 8:20.
Let's make it 8:32 and then we can have time. We know we have enough time.
8:32.
Yeah,
okay.
to make it 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Is there a second? Oh, to include
the city attorney.
Oh, to include the city attorney, city administrator,
and the mayor. Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here we go.
That was kind of long.
Decisions were made. We will proceed on with roundtable. I do not have anything tonight. Keith?
Nothing.
Bill?
The city employees that are trimming the trees for the ceiling, one of the people they trimmed the tree for really appreciated the job they did. Thought it was a good job.
Thank you to our street department.
His name was John Padden. He said to say that, so.
Tell him John said thank you. Well, thank you for noticing John Padden. Anything else, Bill?
That's it.
Darlene?
Well, I might mention again that the Army Band will play Thursday night at 7:30, I believe it is, in the high school auditorium.
In the air-conditioned. Although I heard that, just like you said, that the Kester Gardens the other night, it was very nice, so you were right on, so. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Brad? Todd?
Well, do they know the crew doing the Carolina Street concrete work when they're planning on opening that back up?
They're going to let it cure for a week, if not a little bit more, because it's semi-traffic.
And are they going to do the kind of asphalt on the west approach to the concrete, or is our city crew going to have to go in and kind of patch that?
We're going to have to patch it.
Patch it.
They asked us to patch, because it tilted differently than our street normally did, so we're gonna go in there and fill that in.
And they've had so much traffic, you can tell it's really been taking a beating there, the asphalt section has.
Oh, yeah.
Our part?
Yeah, it really looks bad now compared to that pretty new concrete.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're gonna do. The only other thing I had was, I was really impressed with the musical down at the air-conditioned high school this weekend. It's kind of amazing that we have that much talent in the town.
MAC, that was excellent.
In a town that's small, I mean, I knew it'd be good, and it was twice as good as I expected, so I think that's great that we have that kind of community. So, that's all.
I agree.
Speaking of that street, I did have it tested, so just so you know, I had it.
Oh, how thick the concrete was?
Well, not just the thickness, but they took some samples, so to see if it was.
Well, I am really pleased to hear that, but CES is on site all the time, so I would expect them to be doing that too.
Well, they asked them not to. Their crew asked them because they didn't want to pay for it, so we went ahead and took care of it.
Well, thank you for testing the concrete on. I appreciate that. Anything else, Todd?
No.
Vicki?
I have nothing.
Denny?
Nothing.
Kevin?
Yes, what are we gonna do with the other side of Carolina Street? Other than patch it with asphalt?
I left the door open for you.
Yes, you did. And it was on my notes, so.
Well.
Is it gonna be a short-term deal? We're gonna drag it out 3 years before we fix it?
That's up to you. We were, the estimate was $70,000, so.
So, yeah, I think we want them to finish their project. It's the end of September, and we can probably bid it out still. We'll still have good weather.
I'd love to see it done this year.
Yeah, if
I
not,
really would.
keep in mind in our sales tax fund, we did the swap between the public
Right.
works to street reconstruction, so the monies are there in 2017 if we need it.
I just don't want to see it drag down the line, you know. That street looks so nice looking at it from the east, and then you turn around and go to the west side, and it's like you're kidding.
And the other, of course, then that begs the next question is how well is 18th Street going to hold up there for long?
Well,
I mean, it's okay right now, but it's going to get a lot of increased
Well, the
traffic.
semis are all going to go east, don't you know that?
Well, but there'll be a lot of car traffic.
There'll be a lot of car traffic in and out of there, you know, so.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I talked to Austin about, you know, we did that crack seal on North Street and 11th Road North, and so we have to think about whether or not to wait to the microsurfacing in 2017 or to go ahead and budget that in or get that done in 2016.
Have Gary go get bids on it.
Okay, so he'll bring bids. So because I hate to, that crack seal is just a temporary fix.
Right.
I'd like to see us, if we do that, go in and mill some of those bad spots and those humps and waves, mill that out and overlay it before we did anything to it, though.
We don't want to make it too smooth, Kevin, because it will go way too
Yeah, that would not be too smooth.
We need to do something with it. I mean, it's terrible now for a street that looks like that to have that many waves.
Is it that bad?
Oh, yeah, and cuts and stuff.
You must go faster.
Yeah, it's a 25 mile an hour street right now.
Yeah.
Well, we want to keep it at 30, right?
It's supposed to be 30.
We want to keep it at 30. So.
But, I mean, you can tell every place a tube went across or something went across that road is terrible.
Is it specifically 11th Road or is it more North
It's on
Street?
both.
North 11th Road.
North.
Well, the south one's terrible.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't talk South 11th right now. We're talking North 11th Road.
Yeah.
But
It's on
yours-
both of them.
Both of them? Okay. Well, you want to look at that too, as long, and are you saying having that redone prior to?
Prior to micro sealing, yeah.
Okay.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had one thing I forgot. We talked about a water line project at the budget meeting. Did they ever figure out which one they were going to do this year, or are we going to do one this year?
He's getting bids on some materials, and then, or he's quoting out the materials, then we can go bid out the project.
Because I seen a deal there that I found that Jenkins Street, somewhere on Jenkins Street, we was going to do a water line project this year.
Well, we had talked about doing 12th to 16th along North Street.
North Street, yeah, but that was not designed in this long-range deal that I found till next year on North Street.
Till 2017?
Yeah.
So you said 2016 was Jenkins?
Yeah.
Do you want to get with Austin and? I don't think we actually proposed those.
Well, that's what
But it's-
this was a capital improvement long-range plan for.
Yeah, I don't think we approved it per se, but we can look into it and check the two different and see which one Kent recommends doing in 2016.
Yep.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
All right. Any
Well,
other?
the CIPP, have we heard anything on it yet? And the flush tanks?
They are going, they should be coming into town to clean out the route for the CIPP, and then they wait a month and come back and do that. So, and then,
I just don't want them to get too far into the winter months.
Oh, yeah.
Before they start that.
yeah, I think it was this week they were supposed to be coming in and cleaning them out. I am not sure on the flush tanks. I haven't heard anything back on that.
You can send it out on the weekly report, answers to both those, okay?
Okay.
No,
All right.
that's all I have now.
All right.
Move to adjourn?
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ada?
I'd save you having to ask for it.
8:40, thank you very much.
This stuff pretty quick.